The Galactic Decree. The Galactic Council's massive chamber echoed with the murmurs of countless alien species. Representatives from every corner of the galaxy sat in their designated seats, their alien forms shimmering under the bright lights of the room. At the center of it all stood Captain Layla Harris, Earth's representative, her human features looking small yet defiant against the towering aliens around her. The council leader, a towering reptilian creature named Lord Citron, banged his ceremonial staff against the floor. The room fell silent instantly. His voice was cold and commanding. Earth has violated Galactic Protocol 742. Your actions have disrupted the delicate balance of our trade networks and endangered countless lives. For this, Earth must face severe consequences. Layla's jaw clenched, but she stood firm. With respect, Lord Citron, Earth has only defended itself. Your so-called protocols allowed illegal mining fleets to pillage our system. We requested help, but the Council ignored us. What choice did we have? A low hiss swept through the chamber. Many alien representatives looked away, avoiding her gaze. The truth in her words was uncomfortable, but no one dared to openly side with her. The Council's authority was absolute, and speaking against it was dangerous. Lord Citron's scaled lips curled into what might have been a smirk. Your primitive world has always overstepped its boundaries, Captain Harris. But now, your insolence has gone too far. The Council's decision is final. Earth will be punished with immediate isolation. All trade routes to your system will be cut off. Any ship attempting to enter or leave Earth's space will be destroyed. You will receive no aid, no resources, and no communication with the wider galaxy. The room erupted into applause from certain factions, especially those who saw Earth as a nuisance. Others remained silent, their faces unreadable. Layla's fists tightened at her sides. She wanted to scream, to fight back, but she knew she couldn't show weakness here. Not yet. Instead, she straightened her shoulders and spoke calmly, her voice carrying across the hall. You think cutting us off will break us. You think isolating Earth will make us weak. You've underestimated humanity before, and you're about to do it again. Laughter rippled through the chamber. A feathered alien from the Arctis cluster sneered. Your people are nothing more than a backwater species clinging to outdated technology. What could you possibly do against the might of the Council? Layla's gaze was icy as she locked eyes with him. You'll find out soon enough. Her words hung in the air like a thundercloud, and for a brief moment, the room went quiet again. Then Lord Citron spoke, his tone mocking. Empty threats, Captain Harris. Your people should learn their place in the galaxy. Guards, escort her out. Two massive insectoid guards moved toward her, their spiked limbs gleaming under the chamber lights. Layla didn't resist as they gripped her arms and led her away. As she walked out, she turned her head one last time and spoke loud enough for everyone to hear. Mark my words, humanity doesn't break. We adapt. We survive. And when the time comes, we'll make sure the galaxy never forgets what happens when you push us too far. The doors slammed shut behind her, leaving the chamber in a tense silence. Some representatives exchanged uneasy glances. Others shrugged it off as mere human bravado. Lord Citron, however, felt a sliver of unease crawl down his spine. He quickly dismissed it. What could a single, isolated planet possibly do? Back on Earth, Layla's arrival was met with grim faces and heavy hearts. She stepped off the Council transport ship onto the UN Space Command headquarters, where a crowd of military officers and scientists waited. Her second-in-command, Colonel Marcus Reed, approached her with a salute. What did they say? He asked, though his expression suggested he already knew the answer. Layla sighed, her shoulders heavy with the weight of her people's fate. They've cut us off completely. No trade, no communication. They want us to starve. A murmur spread through the gathered crowd. Fear, anger, and uncertainty filled the air. Marcus leaned in closer, lowering his voice. What's the plan, Captain? We can't just sit here and take it. Layla's eyes hardened. No, we won't. If the Council thinks they can bully us into submission, they've made a grave mistake. We've been preparing for this for years, Marcus. Activate Project Exodus. Marcus's eyes widened. Exodus. But that's exactly what we need, she interrupted. The Council thinks we're weak, that we'll crumble without their support. Let's show them just how wrong they are. The crowd listened in silence, their fear slowly replaced by a spark of hope. Layla's voice carried strength, determination, and something else. Vengeance. Meanwhile, in the Galactic Council chamber, whispers of doubt began to circulate. Some representatives questioned the wisdom of isolating Earth, but Lord Citron dismissed them all. They're a primitive species, he assured his peers. This will break them. What he didn't know, what none of them could know, was that humanity had already begun its preparations for revenge. Silent factories deep within Earth's underground cities roared to life, churning out weapons and ships that the galaxy had never seen before. And far beyond the Council's reach, Earth's brightest minds worked tirelessly on a secret project that would soon shake the galaxy to its core. Humanity was not broken. It was waiting. Shadows of vengeance. The Galactic Council prided itself on its surveillance. No corner of the galaxy was beyond its reach, or so they thought. Yet weeks after Earth's isolation, whispers of strange occurrences began to trickle through the interstellar grapevine. In the desolate reaches of the Proxima Trade Corridor, one of the galaxy's busiest routes, the Calrix Dawn, a Council freighter, drifted lifelessly. Its emergency beacon flickered weakly in the darkness, pulsing a message of desperation to any nearby ships. Captain Kravix, a veteran of countless supply missions, cursed under his breath. Engineering report. He barked into his communicator. The reply was static. Then, a panicked voice crackled through. It's not just our engines, sir. It's everything. Systems, weapons, even life support. Something's overriding our controls. Kravix slammed his fist on the console. Impossible. No force in this sector has that kind of tech. The lights on the bridge dimmed. A shadow passed across the viewport, but there was no ship visible, only the void of space. Then, a single message appeared on every screen aboard the Calrix Dawn. For every action, there is a consequence. Kravix froze. He had heard about Earth's retaliation threats, but they were dismissed as bravado. Now, he wasn't so sure. His voice trembled as he tried to issue a distress call. Before he could speak, the freighter shuddered violently, and everything went black. News of the Calrix Dawn's disappearance spread quickly. Council officials convened a closed-door meeting, the tension palpable. Lord Citron sat at the head of the table, his scaled fingers tapping rhythmically on the polished surface. Pirates, declared one representative, a gelatinous being from the Morvian clans. That sector is notorious for them. Then why was there no sign of an attack? Countered High Admiral Ralvik, a feline-like creature with sharp eyes. No wreckage, no debris. It's as if the ship simply vanished. The room fell silent. Even Citron found himself at a loss for words. Finally, he spoke. Earth does not have the capability for such actions. They're cut off, desperate, likely fighting amongst themselves by now. Admiral Ralvik tilted his head. Perhaps they were cut off too late. The words hung in the air, heavy with implication. Citron dismissed the meeting, but a seed of doubt began to take root in his mind. Meanwhile, on Earth, Captain Layla Harris watched from a control room as a holographic display replayed the Calrix Dawn's final moments. The team around her worked in focused silence, their expressions a mix of grim satisfaction and determination. Phase 1 is complete, Marcus Reed reported, stepping up beside her. The Council is starting to notice. They'll dismiss it for now, Layla replied, her eyes fixed on the display. But not for long. Prepare the fleet. We need to hit them where it hurts next. Marcus hesitated. Are you sure we're ready for this? A direct confrontation with the Council's supply chain could escalate things faster than we're prepared for. Layla turned to him, her gaze unyielding. escalate. They left us no choice when they tried to strangle Earth into submission. Every ship they lose, every resource they miss, that's one step closer to making them pay for underestimating us. Trust me, Marcus. We are ready. The Galactic Council soon received another report. This time, an entire convoy of warships had vanished near the Zora Nebula. Unlike the Caurix Dawn, these ships were heavily armed and escorted by elite fighters. The sheer impossibility of their disappearance sent shockwaves through the Council's ranks. Lord Citron convened an emergency assembly, his once confident demeanor now strained. "This is an act of war," he roared. "We must act swiftly and decisively to crush Earth before their defiance spreads." But whispers of doubt had already begun to circulate. Representatives murmured amongst themselves, questioning whether Citron's plan to isolate Earth had backfired. How could a primitive planet dismantle fleets without being seen? What technologies had humanity been hiding? "I recommend a reconnaissance mission," Admiral Ralvik suggested cautiously. "Send in a cloaked scout to assess Earth's capabilities. We need information before we act blindly." Citron begrudgingly agreed. "Very well. But mark my words, this insolence will not stand." Days later, the scout ship Veilcaster approached Earth's borders, its cloaking field rendering it invisible to most known detection systems. Its crew was confident. No one had ever detected them before. As they entered Earth's orbit, the ship's sensors picked up nothing. No fleet, no weapons, just silence. "See," one of the crew members sneered. "The Council's worried over nothing. Earth's probably cannibalizing its own resources just to stay afloat." But just as they prepared to send their report back to the Council, a deep, resonating hum filled the cabin. Warning lights flashed across the console. The Veilcaster was no longer invisible. Outside the viewport, a sleek, black object emerged from Earth's shadow. It wasn't like any ship the crew had ever seen, silent, menacing, and bristling with unfamiliar technology. The hum intensified, and the Veilcaster's systems began to fail, one by one. The last thing the crew saw before the ship's lights dimmed completely was a single message on their screens. "This is your only warning. Leave." The Veilcaster returned to the Council a week later, adrift and empty. No crew, no answers, just a growing fear that humanity was no longer playing by anyone else's rules. The warning they ignored. The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with confusion and fear. The return of the Veilcaster, derelict and devoid of its crew, had sent shockwaves through the Council. It had been equipped with the galaxy's most advanced cloaking and surveillance systems, yet Earth had detected it effortlessly and neutralized it without a trace of violence. The ship's log showed only one chilling message. "This is your only warning. Leave." Lord Citron paced the chamber, his reptilian scales shimmering under the overhead lights. His frustration was palpable. "This is unacceptable. The humans were supposed to be crippled by our sanctions, not emboldened. What are our intelligence operatives doing?" Admiral Ralvik, ever cautious, stepped forward. "With respect, Lord Citron, we underestimated them. It is clear they've developed technologies we know nothing about. Perhaps we should reconsider our approach before escalating further." "Reconsider?" Citron's voice was a sharp hiss. "Reconsider? Earth is mocking us, daring to defy the Council's authority. If we do nothing, it will embolden others to rise against us. We cannot allow this insolence to go unanswered." Back on Earth, deep beneath the surface in a concealed bunker, Captain Layla Harris stood before a massive holographic display. The room hummed with energy as technicians monitored the fleet's progress. The display showed detailed blueprints of Earth's latest weaponry and warships. They were sleek, silent, and deadly, designed specifically to evade and dismantle the Council's forces. "We intercepted their scout ship as planned," Marcus Reed reported, standing beside her. "They know we're capable, but they don't know how far we've come. What's next?" Layla's eyes narrowed as she studied the Council's key supply routes on the hologram. "We send a message they can't ignore. It's time to hit them where it hurts, right at the heart of their trade network. Marcus hesitated, and if they retaliate, Layla's voice was steady, her resolve unshakable. Then we'll remind them why humanity has always been underestimated, and why that's always been their greatest mistake. A week later, chaos erupted in the Zinar trade nexus, the galaxy's most critical trading hub. A convoy of council ships carrying rare minerals, food supplies, and advanced weaponry was ambushed in broad daylight. What made the attack extraordinary wasn't the destruction, it was the precision. The convoy's escorts, armed with the Council's best defense systems, were neutralized within minutes. Their weapons were hacked mid-fight, turning them into helpless targets. The human attackers didn't fire a single shot. Instead, they used an advanced EMP-like wave to disable the entire convoy. The leader of the convoy, a cephalid named Olax, sent a frantic distress call to the Council. This is beyond anything we've ever seen. It's not pirates, it's humans. They're taking everything. The broadcast was cut off mid-transmission, leaving the Council to wonder what had truly happened. The Council's response was immediate. Lord Citrin called an emergency session. Representatives from all corners of the galaxy gathered, their voices a cacophony of panic and anger. "This is outrageous," bellowed a representative from the Irvin Collective, his multiple eyes glowing with rage. "The humans are crippling our trade routes. How did they achieve this level of power? They were supposed to be primitive," added another delegate. "This is a direct threat to the Council's supremacy." Admiral Ralvik spoke again, his voice calm but firm. "We must face the truth. Earth has grown far beyond what we believed. If we continue to provoke them, we risk awakening a force we cannot control." Lord Citrin slammed his clawed hand on the table, silencing the room. "Enough. We are the Galactic Council, the most powerful alliance in the known universe. A single planet cannot challenge us. We will mobilize the fleet and crush them before they become an even greater threat." As the Council prepared for war, Earth was already 10 steps ahead. In the depths of space, hidden stations and shipyards churned out vessels that combined human ingenuity with stolen alien technology. Humanity's engineers had taken what they'd learned from decades of alien encounters and created something entirely new. One such weapon was Siren's Wrath, a stealth cruiser equipped with a revolutionary cloaking device and an experimental energy cannon capable of disabling entire fleets in seconds. Its test run had been the ambush at the Zinar trade nexus, and it had exceeded every expectation. "Send the Siren's Wrath to the Council's primary logistics hub," Layla ordered. "We're done playing defense. It's time to show them what humanity is capable of." Back in the Council's chambers, another transmission arrived. The room grew tense as the hologram activated. A shadowy figure appeared. It was Captain Harris. Her voice was calm, but her words were anything but. "You ignored our warnings. You pushed us to the edge, thinking we'd crumble. Now you'll learn what happens when humanity is cornered. This is your final chance to back down." Before anyone could respond, the hologram cut out, replaced by a live feed from the Council's logistics hub. Ships were in flames, their destruction eerily precise. A single Earth warship loomed in the distance, untouched and unapologetic. The Council's silence was deafening. For the first time in centuries, the Galactic Council felt something they hadn't experienced in generations. Fear. Retaliation begins. The Council's war chambers were ablaze with activity. Fleet commanders from across the galaxy shouted orders into their communicators as holographic displays tracked their forces. The destruction of the Zinar trade nexus and the attack on their logistics hub had left the Council reeling. For the first time, they were facing an enemy they couldn't predict. Lord Citrin stood at the center of the chaos, his claws gripping the edge of the command table. "Enough of these games. Mobilize the Titan Armada. We'll crush Earth before they can strike again." Admiral Ralvik, seated at the far end of the room, let out a low growl. "The Titan Armada. You want to commit 1/3 of the Council's entire military strength to a single planet. Citron's eyes blazed with anger. We have no choice. These humans are tearing apart our trade networks, humiliating our fleets, and now they dare to broadcast threats directly to us. They must be eradicated. Ralvik leaned back in his chair, his sharp claws tapping rhythmically on the table. And what if they're baiting us into overcommitting? You forget, Citron. Earth has been watching us for decades. They've learned from us. If we charge in blindly, we risk losing more than just this war. We risk our reputation as rulers of the galaxy. Citron ignored him, already issuing orders. The Titan Armada would descend on Earth in 3 days. On Earth, preparations for the inevitable clash were in full swing. Captain Layla Harris stood in the central command room, watching as fleets of human ships assembled on the holographic display. The Siren's Wrath had returned victorious, its crew hailed as heroes. But there was no time for celebration. Our intelligence confirms the Council is sending the Titan Armada, Marcus Reed reported, his voice low and serious. Their largest fleet, over 1,000 warships, dozens of dreadnoughts. Layla didn't flinch. Good, let them come. The room fell silent. Marcus frowned. You're not worried. Layla's gaze was steely. They think brute force is the answer, but they're walking into a trap. We've been planning for this moment for years. She gestured to the hologram, which shifted to display Earth's orbital defenses. Massive satellite stations bristling with weaponry surrounded the planet, each one linked to a network of automated drones. Further out, the newly constructed stealth fleet awaited, invisible to any known sensors. This isn't just a defense, Layla continued. This is retaliation. The Titan Armada will never reach Earth. 3 days later, the Titan Armada arrived at the edge of Earth's solar system. The massive fleet moved in perfect formation, their engines glowing like distant stars. At the center of the formation was the Sovereign Fury, the Council's flagship, a colossal dreadnought bristling with enough firepower to annihilate a planet. Admiral Ralvik, reluctantly leading the fleet, stood on the bridge of the Sovereign Fury. His sharp eyes scanned the void ahead. No resistance, he muttered. Where are they? The sensors detected nothing. No ships. No orbital defenses, just the cold expanse of space. They're hiding, one of his officers suggested. Ralvik's instincts screamed otherwise. No, they're waiting. Moments later, the first wave of drones emerged from behind Pluto, moving faster than anything the Council had ever seen. The automated swarm struck with surgical precision, targeting the Armada's rear flank. Ships erupted in flames as their engines were disabled. Activate countermeasures, Ralvik roared. But before the fleet could regroup, Earth's stealth ships decloaked. They moved like shadows, appearing and disappearing at will. The Council's ships were powerful but slow, their weapons unable to lock onto the nimble human vessels. Then came the final blow. From the depths of Earth's orbit, the Exodus, humanity's secret weapon, emerged. A ship larger than anything the Council had imagined. Its sleek black hull shimmered with energy. The Exodus fired a single shot, a concentrated energy beam that passed through 3 Council dreadnoughts in a single sweep, leaving them in ruins. On the Sovereign Fury, Ralvik watched in stunned silence. Impossible, he whispered. No species could build a weapon like that. His officers panicked. Sir, we've lost 30% of the fleet. The Sovereign Fury's shields are failing. Ralvik made the only choice he could: order the retreat. As the shattered remnants of the Titan Armada fled, Earth's forces pursued them to the edge of the solar system, ensuring no ship escaped unscathed. Humanity's victory was absolute. In the aftermath, Captain Layla Harris addressed the world from the command center. Her voice carried across the galaxy, transmitted to every species watching in awe. We didn't ask for this war, she began, but when the Council tried to break us, we stood together. They wanted us to fear them. Instead, we showed them what happens when humanity is united. Her final words sent a chilling message. To the Galactic Council, this is only the beginning. If you think this ends with your retreat, you are mistaken. We are no longer your prey. We are your equals. And we will not be silenced. Back in the council chambers, chaos reigned. Representatives shouted over one another, demanding answers and accountability. Lord Citron sat silently, his once unshakable confidence shattered. Admiral Ralvik, still recovering from the loss, spoke grimly. You wanted to crush them, Citron. Instead, you've created something far worse. You've made humanity unstoppable. The galaxy had underestimated Earth. Now, it would never forget the name of the species that dared to rise against the Council. And won. Humanity unleashed. The Galactic Council's defeat at the hands of Earth reverberated through the galaxy. Species once loyal to the Council began whispering of rebellion, emboldened by humanity's victory. Trade routes crumbled, communication lines faltered, and panic spread like wildfire. The once mighty Galactic Council was fractured, its foundation shaken by a single, primitive planet. Yet, humanity was far from done. On board the Exodus, Earth's most advanced warship, Captain Layla Harris stood at the helm, her eyes fixed on the holographic display in front of her. The remnants of the Titan Armada had limped back to the Council's inner territories, but Earth's forces had not pursued them further. Not yet. Marcus Reed approached, his tone cautious. The Council's retreat was hasty, but they're regrouping. Our scouts report they're pulling resources from their allied sectors to fortify their core systems. Layla smirked. Let them. Every ship they move leaves another system vulnerable. It's time we show the galaxy that humanity isn't just fighting back. We're leading the charge. The room buzzed with anticipation. Layla turned to her command crew. Prepare the fleet. We're not waiting for the Council to attack again. We're taking the fight to them. The Council's core territories were a glittering beacon of prosperity, home to its wealthiest and most influential members. For centuries, they had remained untouched by war, shielded by layers of defenses and fleets. Now, for the first time, an enemy was closing in. Earth's fleet emerged from hyperspace like wraiths, their stealth systems disabling Council sensors long before their arrival. The Exodus led the charge, followed by Earth's newly forged Armada, sleek, black ships that moved with uncanny precision. The Council's outermost defenses were obliterated in minutes. Automated turrets were hacked and turned against their own forces. Communication stations were destroyed before they could sound the alarm. By the time the Council realized what was happening, Earth's fleet was already at their doorstep. In the Council's grand capital, the heart of its power, panic erupted. Lord Citron stood in the command chamber, his usual arrogance replaced by desperation. How did they breach our defenses so easily? He demanded, slamming his clawed fist on the table. An intelligence officer stammered. Their technology. It's beyond anything we've seen. They're using systems that disrupt our energy fields, override our AIs. It's like they know our weaknesses better than we do. Admiral Ralvik, standing to the side, spoke grimly. Because they do. Humanity spent decades studying us, learning from every interaction, every mistake we made. They've turned our own arrogance into their weapon. Citron snarled. We cannot let them reach the capital. Deploy every remaining ship. Call in reinforcements from the Arctis and Vulcan sectors. Ralvik shook his head. There are no reinforcements. Your decision to isolate Earth spread our forces too thin. They're hitting us where we're weakest, and we have nothing left to counter them. Outside the capital, the battle raged. The Council's fleet, though massive, was uncoordinated and ill-prepared for Earth's tactics. Humanity's warships darted between their lines, using advanced cloaking and mobility to strike from unexpected angles. Each human ship was a masterpiece of engineering, combining Earth's ingenuity with reverse-engineered alien technology. The Exodus was the centerpiece of the assault. Its experimental energy cannon, now refined after its debut, tore through the Council's largest dreadnoughts with ease. The sheer scale of destruction was awe-inspiring, leaving the Council's forces in disarray. Amid the chaos, a lone message was broadcast across all Council channels. Captain Layla Harris appeared on their screens, her expression cold and resolute. "This is your reckoning," she declared. "For years, you exploited us, mocked us, and ignored our cries for help. You thought Earth was weak, but you were wrong. We've risen, and we will no longer be silenced." The broadcast ended with a chilling image. Earth's fleet advancing, unstoppable. Inside the capital, Cytran's resolve finally cracked. "We cannot lose the capital," he roared. "We must negotiate." Ralvik glared at him. "Negotiate? After you condemned Earth to isolation and ruin? They're not here to talk. They're here to finish what you started." Suddenly, the chamber's doors burst open. A holographic projection filled the room, revealing Captain Harris. The Council leaders froze as her piercing gaze swept over them. "You have two options," she said. "Surrender now and accept Earth as an equal in this galaxy, or continue this war and face extinction." Cytran sneered, regaining some of his bravado. "You wouldn't dare. Destroying us would make you no better than the tyrants you claim to despise." Harris leaned closer to the projection, her voice like ice. "The difference, Lord Cytran, is that we didn't start this war, but we will end it." The Council's decision to surrender was unanimous. Lord Cytran, stripped of his authority, was forced to sign a treaty recognizing Earth as a sovereign superpower. The treaty dismantled much of the Council's control over the galaxy, empowering previously oppressed species to rise and govern themselves. The galaxy watched in stunned silence as humanity, once dismissed as insignificant, emerged as a force that redefined the balance of power. In the aftermath, Captain Layla Harris stood aboard the Exodus, overlooking the liberated systems. Marcus Reed approached her, his expression a mix of pride and relief. "It's over," he said. Layla shook her head. "No, Marcus, it's just beginning. The galaxy won't forget what we've done, but they also won't stop watching us. We've won the war, but now we have to win the peace." As the fleet began its journey back to Earth, humanity's message echoed across the stars. "Never underestimate those you think are weak. Sometimes, the smallest flame burns the brightest." Shock and aftermath. The Galactic Council's surrender marked a historic turning point. For centuries, the Council had dominated the galaxy, ruling with an iron grip cloaked in diplomacy. Now, Earth had shattered that illusion. The Council's vast empire was crumbling, and the galaxy was watching as humanity claimed its place among the stars. In the ruins of the Council's capital, Captain Layla Harris walked through the shattered Grand Hall. The once magnificent chamber, lined with marble and gold, was now scared by the battle. The silence was deafening, broken only by the distant hum of Earth's warships hovering in the atmosphere. Marcus Reed followed closely behind her, his gaze scanning the destruction. "Do you think they'll rebuild?" Layla stopped, her boots crunching on shattered glass. "Rebuilding isn't enough. They need to change, or this will happen again." Ahead of them, a trembling figure stepped forward. Lord Cytran. His once imposing frame now seemed smaller, his scales dulled with stress and fear. The fallen leader bowed his head as Layla approached. "Captain Harris," Cytran said, his voice low. I underestimated your people. I underestimated you." Layla's expression remained unreadable. "You underestimated our will to survive. That's what you never understood. Humanity doesn't break. We adapt." Cytran raised his gaze, his reptilian eyes filled with desperation. "What happens to us now? Will you destroy us?" Layla's lips pressed into a thin line. "No, humanity didn't fight this war for vengeance. We fought for freedom, ours and everyone else's. But make no mistake, Cytran, the Council's time is over. The galaxy belongs to all of us now." Cytran sagged with relief, though a flicker of resentment lingered in his eyes. And what of the species still loyal to the Council? They won't simply accept Earth's rise. Layla's voice turned cold. Then they'll learn, just as you did. The galaxy erupted with reactions to the Council's defeat. In distant star systems, oppressed species celebrated Earth's victory as their own. Revolutions broke out in former Council strongholds, their people inspired by humanity's defiance. Some declared independence, while others reached out to Earth for guidance and alliance. In the shadows, however, resistance brewed. A coalition of former Council loyalists convened in secret, plotting to restore the old order. Among them, whispers of retaliation and sabotage grew louder. Back on Earth, a global celebration unfolded. Cities lit up with fireworks, and people poured into the streets, cheering for their newfound status as a galactic superpower. For the first time in decades, Earth wasn't fighting for survival, it was thriving. In the heart of the festivities, Layla watched from a quiet balcony, her thoughts heavy. Marcus joined her, handing her a glass of champagne. "You should be celebrating," he said. "You just led humanity to its greatest victory." Layla sighed, taking the sip. "Victory is complicated, Marcus. We've won the war, but now comes the hard part. The galaxy is in chaos, and all eyes are on us. What we do next will define humanity's future." He nodded, his tone serious. "And what do we do next?" Layla looked out over the jubilant crowd, her resolve hardening. "We lead. We show the galaxy that strength isn't about conquest. It's about unity. If we can build alliances, help rebuild what the Council destroyed, we can create a future where wars like this don't happen again." Meanwhile, on the edge of the galaxy, the remnants of the Titan Armada regrouped in a hidden nebula. Disgraced Council leaders and their allies gathered in secret, nursing their wounds and plotting their revenge. At the head of the table sat Admiral Ralvik, his sharp eyes burning with determination. "The humans may have won this round," Ralvik growled, "but they've painted a target on their backs. We will rebuild, and when the time is right, we will remind them why the Council ruled for so long." One of the officers hesitated. "But Admiral, their technology, it's beyond anything we've seen. How can we fight them?" Ralvik's lips curled into a predatory smile. "Because humans are predictable. They think this is over. They think they've won. That's when they'll make mistakes. And when they do, we'll strike." Months later, Earth began fulfilling its promise to the galaxy. Human engineers and diplomats worked alongside liberated species, helping them rebuild their homes and create self-governing systems. Humanity's fleet patrolled the stars, not as conquerors, but as protectors, ensuring the Council's remnants couldn't reassert their control. But even as humanity rose as a beacon of hope, the shadow of conflict loomed. Skirmishes broke out on the galaxy's fringes, where loyalist factions clashed with Earth's allies. Reports of sabotage and espionage grew more frequent, hinting at a larger conspiracy brewing in the dark. On the Exodus, Layla received a classified transmission from one of Earth's covert operatives. The message was brief but chilling. "They're regrouping. The Council's remnants are planning something big. Be ready." Layla closed the message and turned to Marcus, who had been reading over her shoulder. "Looks like the war isn't over after all." Marcus smirked, his tone light, despite the tension. "Good. I was getting bored." Layla's expression was resolute. "We've faced them before, and we'll face them again. Humanity didn't rise this far just to fall now." The story of Earth's retaliation had ended, but a new chapter was beginning. One where humanity was no longer just a survivor. It was a leader, a force to be reckoned with, and a symbol of hope and defiance in a galaxy that had learned one undeniable truth: never underestimate the will of humanity.